Check, check, 1, 2. Mic test. Tick, tick, tick. Okay, I think we're good. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Grounded Reflections Dream Analysis series. So, tonight I wanted to take a look at how moon phases can affect dreams we have. Now, the main takeaway from this is that the phases of the moon can provide us additional context to our dreams and make it just that much easier or comprehensible when it comes to trying to interpret and analyze some of these really confusing images, symbols, and just the overall message of dreams. So I'm going to break this up into chunks so that the videos aren't too long, and I'm just going to focus on one phase at a time. So today I'm going to promptly start with the new moon. And we have a new moon coming up here pretty soon. Today is January 16th. So the next one is on the 18th in Capricorn. So perfect. If you're seeing this before the new moon, this should hopefully help you out for that. And let's explore that. So I just made some quick notes that I'm going to be referring to here. So new moon, if we think about it literally, looking at the moon, it is devoid of all of the light from the sun, or pretty much all of the light from the sun. So physically looking at it, it's not really illuminated at all. In fact, you might even not even be able to see it. Mostly because I'm pretty sure the Earth's shadow is blocking the moon because the sun's on the other side. This is the sun. My head is the Earth. The moon's over here. So the shadow is going to be blocking out the light. um, so what does this actually symbolically mean? Well, as far as the lunar cycle goes, it's called the new moon for a reason. It's the start of a fresh new phase. Because from that point, as the moon goes on through its cycle, which is about 29 days, more and more light is going to be visible on the moon's surface from our point of view. So it's going to be waxing, it's going to be gaining light. But the new moon is devoid of all that and represents the beginning. That's key. So while it represents the beginning of the lunar phase, it also symbolizes the beginning of something in you. So when you see new moons and we're trying to get context of dreams, think beginnings, planting seeds even, not, I mean, maybe you'll have dreams of some kind of planting seeds, but I mean, metaphorically speaking, planting seeds, um, intentions, potential, initiations, things like that. So psychologically speaking, themes of introspection, planning, and initiation even. So symbolically, this can look like starting points. Like I said, it could be planting things, um, preparing, meeting new people. Um, Oftentimes, these dreams can feel a little bit extra mysterious, maybe a little quiet, and uncertain for sure, because it's the beginning. There's a lot of uncertainty kind of looming around, and you can almost feel that too. So this can these dreams can feature hidden or unknown elements, perhaps symbols that represent potential, that represent choices, or even latent abilities within you. Um, so Rarely these are dramatic. More often than not, they're more subtle. And by subtle, I mean in terms of the images, the feelings not as intense. And I mean, despite the lack of intensity, as far as resonance goes, I think these dreams tend to resonate quite a bit emotionally, but not so much on a intense level, if that makes any sense. So basically, the whole purpose behind this is uh, that the mind is preparing for action. It is focusing on where energy needs to be directed in order for growth intentions. That's the gist of the new moon. Planting seeds, potential, and beginnings. So I think it's a good idea to track the moon, what phase it's in, is what I mean. So if you have a planner, I like to, and I did this when I got this planner, but I like to just note when the new moon is going to be, mark it in my planner, and where the full moon's going to be, mark that in my planner. And also if there's eclipses, um, to be honest, I hadn't really explored eclipses in dreams. It's probably a correlation to that, but I'm not too well versed in that. I've more been focusing on how my dreams are affected in new moons, in the waxing period, full moon, and then in the waning period. So yeah, if you have a calendar, mark it down in there just to help you out. It's good info. Could be for other reasons too, especially if you're into farming and fishing and stuff like that. Um, Having a grasp on the moon phases can actually really benefit for that too. It's an entity after all, so and so are we in a way. So let's explore a dream. I had to do a little digging, but a dream from the new moon, and this is a dream that I had. Uh, this is September, so the new moon this past September 2025 was on the 21st, and I wrote this on the morning of the 22nd. So I'd still consider that new moon period, even if it's starting to wax then. This is basically from the night of that new moon. So I've actually already written down the dream in my big notebook. This come from one of my raw journals. Usually I write it down on camera, but I just wanted to save a little time and do that beforehand. But I'm still going to read it out loud. Excuse me, so we can start to get a grasp on this. Now, I remember this dream pretty vividly to this day, even though it was a couple months ago. And I thought I had an idea about what it might mean. And then something happened in my waking life. And while it was happening, I was thinking back to this dream. But that was before I really started implementing this version of dream analysis where I really was breaking it down step by step. So I don't know if it'll resonate the same way as it does tonight. So let's take a look at the dream. It goes like this. I'm wearing a homemade bead necklace in a living room that's not mine, the living room that is, with friends, my friends, who are on a couch watching TV. My friend's younger brother's new girlfriend, we'll call this friend C, is there. So my C's younger brother's girlfriend is there, and C is telling me to tell her about my restaurant. This restaurant is an inside joke, but funny enough, in waking life, C would have no idea about this restaurant inside joke. So as I'm doing this, as I'm explaining this restaurant joke, a random middle-aged black guy comes into the room, grabs me by the necklace, which seems like it would break, but it doesn't for some reason, and punches me in the face repeatedly. I start to observe this scene from outside of my body as no one stepped in to stop this. Now, a couple things. One, I don't remember what was on the TV. Usually, if you can get an idea of what you see on screens or what you hear in calls or something like that, that can help. That's extra context most of the time. In this case, I wasn't able to capture and record that, and to this day, I don't know what that is. And what I mean that I start to observe this scene from outside my body, I mean, instead of me viewing from this point of view, I'm viewing from a third person, let's just say from that corner, and I'm looking down onto the whole scene so I can see everything. I can see it, but my body is still getting beat up. All right, so let's take a look at some symbols here. So, the homemade bead necklace, for sure. The living room, which isn't mine. The TV could be a symbol, but I think it's more so that it was there for support. Whatever was on that screen probably would have helped me decipher this a little bit easier. We'll see. And if we look back to the definition, or not the definition, but the key points of new moon dreams, new people was something. And not only do we have a new person in my friend's younger brother's new girlfriend, but also this random guy who comes into the room and starts punching me in the face. So that's interesting. Okay. So this inside joke too is, I don't know what to make of this one. This is a tough one compared to the last two we were doing. We had a good idea, but this one we're gonna have to do some digging for, which is fun. Uh, so he grabs me by this necklace, which is interesting, which doesn't break also, and it's like, do I have one? Probably do somewhere, but I don't know where it is. You know, like those plastic beads. Sometimes they have like letters on it, and you can make it into a bracelet, like a friendship bracelet, but it was in necklace form this time around. So yeah, if anyone were to pull and grab on that, it would probably snap, and the beads would go everywhere. But this didn't happen, and no one stepped in to stop this. None of my friends stepped in to stop this in the dream. Okay, so right now, what I want to take a look at are these symbols. Namely, let's start with the living room, because that's going to be a big indicator, I think, of what part of the mind or part of the psyche that we're kind of focusing on here, I think at least. So I'm going to refer back to this book that we've used in the past, The Element Encyclopedia of 20,000 Dreams by Teresa Chung. I Hope that's how you pronounce that. And we're going to take a look at living room and as well as this necklace. I don't know if bead necklace will be in here, but I'm sure necklace is in there and we can try and narrow it down just from that. So let's take a look at living room first. So before I wasn't able to find yards, I found them. I just had to look in the home section. So we'll go to the table of contents here. Home, page 299. Okay. Hopefully living room's in here. Ah, living room. Okay. All right. To dream that you are in a living room or lounge. This was very loungy. There's couches. Represents the image that you portray to others and the way in which you go about your life. Interesting. Interesting. Already off the bat, this has to do more with a public aspect. It is representative of your basic beliefs about yourself and who you are. Like the bedroom, this is a room in which you tend to relax and be yourself. So that homemade bead necklace, I think, is really honing in on that aspect of being yourself in an authentic way because it's homemade. It's not something you can buy more. You know what I mean by that? Like it's not a gold necklace. It's not um, like traditional jewelry. Something made probably by a friend or something. Um, okay, then it goes on to say if the dream living room is crowded or cramped and full of strange furniture, it suggests a lack of privacy. Yeah, it just seemed like a normal living room. I didn't know whose living room it was, but it wasn't mine. So I think that emphasizes even more of the um, public aspect of this. Um, okay. Dreams. So it also goes on to say, don't assume that a trashed living room or even a coffin in the middle of it means that you're on the path to self-destruction. Dreams such as these are pointing to qualities within yourself that can be changed or corrected by adjustments to your attitude and approach to life. Interesting. Interesting. Take notice of things that make it special or pleasant. That is the living room. As these are things within you that make your life rewarding. If the room is ugly, leaky, or damaged, consider what parts of your life these dream images represent, how those things can be cleaned up, repaired, or changed. Okay, that's actually great insight. So this tells me, again, that originally when I was interpreting this dream back in September, I thought this had more to do with my friends than it did myself because it had my friends. But I've learned not to take these things so literally, in that when I see other people, very rarely does it have to do with those people, but it has to do with what those people represent within me. So I think these people are just representing what I perceive the social reaction to me is, my perception of their perception, essentially. That helps out a lot. Okay, so let me jot that down before I forget that. It's the living room. What was that first part? Represents the image that you portray to others. And the way in which you go about your life. The way in which you go about your life, living room. It's representative of your basic beliefs about yourself and who you are. I'm just going to make a quick note of that, just so I have it in this journal to look back on later when I have dreams that reference or take place in living rooms again. Basic beliefs about yourself and who you are. And there's emphasis here on, this relaxed state in being yourself. The fact that we were all there just lounging on the couch watching TV, I think really highlights that as well. Okay, so let's get into the necklace next. I'm going to use the directory here, so I'm pretty sure this will be a symbol we can scan for. Necklaces. Page 153 and 531. That's funny. 153, 531. Okay. Oh, okay. It's midnight right now. I'm burning a little midnight Earl. I got energy right now. I don't know how, but okay. Items of jewelry. Necklaces. Necklaces. Okay, this is a little bit of history. Arose from the wearing of a chain of office, and therefore in dreams they suggest a dignity and honor bestowed on the wearer. Well, it says if you were given a necklace and it breaks, this suggests that there is a weak link in a relationship. Interesting, because this was a necklace that was most likely given to me because it was, I was thinking of a friendship bracelet. Normally, you don't wear a friendship bracelet that you made for yourself. You make a friendship bracelet for a friend and you give it them. So I feel like the same thing goes for the necklace. And the fact that it didn't break perhaps signifies the opposite of this, that the relationship between, I'm going to just go ahead and say, with these friends is strong, stronger than I think. Uh, in other words, and no, they might not show it, or it might not be so visible internally and intentionally. It's strong, which resonates. I feel that. What was that first part? The necklaces arose from the wearing of a chain of office. The wearing of a chain of office. I don't really know what that means. Does that mean um like a identifier? I don't really know. I'm not going to focus too hard on that. I think that gave good insight. There's more to say on that, but not really anything that has to that pertains with this situation here. So let's take a look at the other page, 531. Okay. So this is actually in the section of the book that goes over shapes, and this is in the circle section. So in jewelry, rings, bracelets, and necklaces are usually circular. In many societies, marriage and lifelong commitment are symbolized by exchanging rings. And it says the same thing. If you dream of a broken necklace or bracelet, you may fear that a relationship will break and come to an abrupt end. You may, however, feel that it is time for a connection to come to a conclusion. So, again, nothing broke despite such aggression and hostility, which is really telling. So that's about all I can dig up on necklaces right now. There might be more, but I think that's pretty good. The homemadeness, again, makes me think that this necklace was given to me, and the fact that it wasn't a gold chain, it wasn't something so, let's just say material. It was something more authentic and heartfelt than just something to catch eyes and signify wealth or luxury, but more so genuine compassion and friendship and connection. That's what I'm getting from that. That's how I'm feeling. And that might resonate with you too, but for me, that's what I'm getting. So I'm gonna go ahead at the homemade bead necklace. Signifies authenticity, strong friendship, and genuine compassion. As opposed to a display of luxury, wealth, flashiness. Even though this is flashy, not in the sense that it's to make me appear more, um, what's the word? High end than I actually am. That makes sense. Okay? So, and I think the whole inside joke thing is more of emphasis on the strength of these bonds, that we're able to have the inside jokes. And so I think a big theme of this dream is the strength of the friendship that my friends and I share. Now, this, in the moment after this dream, didn't feel like the case because I literally got beat up in front of everybody and no one stepped in to help me. But this isn't about my friends. This is about what my perception of their perception was of me. So actually what I want to explore here is what the face symbolizes. Why was the face in particular getting beat up here? And I think we actually have that. It might even be like a body parts section on this. That might really help us out. Yeah, body. Let's explore that. Okay. Face. Face. If you dream of your own face, it may represent the persona you present to the world and not your real self. This is particularly so if you're putting on makeup. A dream face therefore refers to how you would like to be seen. Okay, that's something. What else? What about, I mean, that does offer a clue. In the context of this, it ties in to this aspect of the persona, the face being presented socially, publicly. Is literally getting punched in. Um, what about getting attacked? Is there something about that? Um, Let me check the directory. I'm sure there is. attacked. Okay, there's a lot. Also on 135, I didn't even notice. Let's take a look at that. Was that the one we were before, or was it 153? I don't remember. Fighting. If you're being attacked in your dreams, this suggests that you are feeling threatened in some way, perhaps by your own impulses, or perhaps by other people and their attitude or remarks to you. If you were attacked by a shadowy or frightening figure, this may depict feelings of fear and pain associated with the path. How you deal with the attack is important. If you run from it, the trauma is not being dealt with in waking life. Interesting. So this um, was sort of a shadowy, yeah, shadowy and frightening figure. Now that I think about it, I mean, never seen this person before. Um, Fear, yeah. So I think this has to do with fear of self-expression. That's what this really sounds like this. Okay. I'm just gonna make a note about getting punched in the face by a random attacker. It is a symbol for I'm just gonna say anxiety slash fear of I have to go back to of self-expression. I think the bead necklace really highlights that aspect of self-expression because it was self-made, it was homemade, and that's resonating with me. Even though I have a strong relationship with my friends, I definitely at the time and still to this day struggle with self-expression, not just with those close friends, but with other people. But I think more so this was highlighting that because this was approaching a time where I was going to be more social with this group of friends. And when I thought of this dream was on my birthday when I was surrounded by these friends. So, anxiety and fear of self expression. Now, the next part that interests me with this dream, I think we're done with the book. We might come back to it, but what interests me is that at the end, I viewed this from a third person perspective. And no one stepped in to help us. And that doesn't tell me that these friends in waking life wouldn't actually step in to stop this from happening. I think it's quite the opposite, but more so that this is this can go in a lot of different ways, but right now I'm thinking this has to do with me dealing with the problem on my own. Because no one would know that I'm really struggling with this. Mostly because I wouldn't tell them. I think that works. All right, so I think we have pretty much what we need here. Wow, this is actually awesome because this isn't really a dream I was dwelling on for so long, but I still remember it very clearly. And the fact that this was from September, I really didn't know what direction this was going to go in. But um, really, just working with the living room and that necklace was huge. Huge in breaking this one down. So let me do a quick write up of this. So ultimately, the living room represents my self image. I'm just going to put in parentheses public. Portrayed to others. Or my perception of others' no, just others, of others' perception of me. The bead necklace signifies I don't know why I'm struggling to nail down exactly. I mean, I know intuitively what it means, but I'm struggling to find the language for it. The bead necklace signifies um, strong bonds, a friendship, being authentic and genuine, and I'm going to say compassion. Shared. The attacker is analogous of my belief that my image slash nature would not be well received by others so it's analogous of the fear that the fear, yeah, it's analogous of the fear that my nature slash image would not be received well by others. In other words, that it would sever the relationship. But the necklace not breaking describes the opposite. The fact that I didn't run away and no one stepped in to help could represent my capability I don't want to say capability. Could represent me fighting my own battle in my mind. In other words, this isn't actually, in other words, my fear is just a fear. Not a truth. This is a fear that I'm dealing with internally. Not a truth. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, let's cross reference with Dr. GPT. I also pre-typed this dream to save time. So let me just make sure this AI is up for it. Hey chat, let's do some dream analysis. I'll give you the dream from this past September new moon. And then I'll give you my own analysis as to cross reference with you. goes like this. Okay. Ultimately, the living room represents my social / public self-image. How I perceive really? Is it? Oh wow. Oh, except after C. Haha. How I perceive um other people's, or no, how my perception of what other people's perceptions of me may be. The homemade bead necklace signifies strong bonds of friendship. I'm just going to put in parentheses, especially since it doesn't break. Authenticity, genuine compassion, and genuine compassion. And I'm just going to put as opposed to luxury / wealth. The perception of being high and / high maintenance. And I'm really counting on ChatGPT to actually give me the language for this right now, because I'm going to be honest, I'm struggling with that. Partially because it's almost 1 in the morning and I'm a little delusional right now, which is good. Sometimes you need to be a little delusional to be able to do this stuff. So the attacker then is analogous. Oh man. Yes. I don't know why I get so excited when I spell words right. Of the fear / anxiety that my persona / self-image / nature won't be well received by others especially my friends. Which would sever the relationship. However, necklace not breaking describes the opposite. Also, the fact that I didn't run away and nobody stepped in to help could represent me facing this battle internally and that it's just a fear that I'm dealing with, not a truth. What do you think? Okay. That was a good one, guys. That was a good one. Even chat says, ooh, this is a rich one. Thanks for laying it out so clearly, and I really like how grounded and non-doom-y your analysis already is. I'm mostly going to build on it, not overturn it because you're tracking something real here. I'll go piece by piece and then zoom out. First, your analysis is solid. You're absolutely right that this dream is about self-presentation and relational safety rather than literal threat. The symbols are consistent and the emotional logic holds together. Especially strong reads on. The living room is a social space slash semi-public intimacy. The necklace not breaking as a core reassurance, yeah, and the violence being internal rather than an external truth. So yes, you're already in the right room. Good one with this dream. Now let's sharpen a few edges and add nuance. The necklace is not just friendship, it's handmade identity. You read it as authenticity and genuine bonds, which I agree with. I'd add one more layer. This isn't just friendship, it's self-made value. Plastic bead friendship relationships are handmade, intentionally unserious and playful, often associated with childhood, sincerity, and emotional labor rather than status. So this necklace is less my friends like me and more I'm valuable because I make meaning, not because I perform status. Yeah, that's very good. Very good. Definitely resonates. This matters because the restaurant detail is sneakily important. Yeah, see, I didn't really know what to think of that. We call this an inside joke that C wouldn't know anything about in waking life. That's a big tell. This suggests parts of you that are real, personal, maybe slightly absurd, that aren't universally legible or explainable, but that you're being prompted to share anyway to someone new. Wow. Yes. Absolutely. So the dream sets up a moment of exposure. You're explaining your thing to a newcomer in a social setting that isn't fully yours. That's vulnerability. Wow, that's so good. That's so good. I have to write that down. Okay. The attacker, not just fear, but shame that interrupts expression. Yes. Okay, that's good. Rather than fear that people won't like me, this attacker feels more like internalized shame that activates the moment you express your authentic self publicly. A few specifics. He grabs you by the necklace, the very symbol of your handmade identity, and punches target the face, which is visibility, recognition, being seen. He appears right when you're explaining yourself. Yeah. This isn't random anxiety. This is the reflex, this shutdown response that kicks in when you talk about something personal, risk being misread, or step slightly outside your usual role in a group. Wow, that's so good. The fact that he's a stranger matters too. This isn't about one person's opinion, but a faceless, internalized, internalized social judgment. No one helps. And that's not abandonment. This is where insight is especially good. Nobody intervening doesn't read as no one cares, which initially, before I did any of this, back in September, that's kind of what I was thinking. Even though I didn't really believe it, that's like just the headspace that I was in. This is not actually happening in the external world. In dreams, when no one reacts to violence, it often means the threat is psychological, not relational. Now, it often means this, which I agree with and I've seen. The conflict exists below the level others can see. Like I said earlier, this is something that no one would really know. Your psyche is basically saying, this is your fight, but it's also not real in the way it feels. Okay, yeah, this was interesting too. The outer body shift. Mastery, not dissociation. It's very fully identified with the part of yourself that expects punishment for being real. That's huge. That's growth. Um, Big picture. If I had to summarize this dream in one sentence, you're testing whether your authentic, self made identity can survive being seen in social spaces, and discovering that the fear of rejection is louder than the reality. The fear of rejection is louder than the reality. The new moon timing tracks perfectly. This is a reset around self expression and belonging, not a warning dream. The dream stage is the worst case scenario, and then quietly, subtly, this proves it. The necklace didn't break, friends didn't actually reject, the violence turned out to be internal, and then at the end, we took a step back and watched it all. That's not a trauma replay, that's fear being metabolized. That's funny. Oh, okay, here we have a little question here. Not to answer, but to just sit with. Where in waking life do you still brace for a hit right after you say something that feels true but a little unpolished? Because the dream suggests you're ready to stop flinching, even if the reflex hasn't fully caught up yet. I can't really answer that right now, not because I'm scared to, but because I don't really know right now. I mean, I know, but that's for a different video, I believe. I don't think it would do us much good here. All right. Wow. Talk about a revelation. That's awesome. Just sitting with this for a second. Thank you, Dr. GPT. Um, it'd be really easy for me to brush this aside because at the end of the day, making these videos is for education, but also entertainment. I understand that. I wouldn't be putting these on YouTube if it wasn't going to be somewhat entertaining, at least the thought that it would be entertaining. But the truth right now that I'm feeling is that this isn't an emotional experience. I mean, wow. I mean, just coming like full circle. I mean, it's January now, mid-January, December, November, October, September. 4 months have passed where I've kind of sat with this, and now I'm realizing, now that I'm doing the analysis, how much mental energy I've been battling or I've been using to battle a fear, not a truth. Well, a truth about a fear, but not an external reality. That's huge. That was a sigh of relief. Literally. I just think it's cool that we saw this happen in real time. It's powerful stuff. Really, really powerful stuff. And again, this was a dream that I came into this video having no idea. No idea what direction this was going to go in. Because I had a feeling that it wasn't literally about being abandoned by friends, that it definitely, well, not even, but that I felt like it had a deeper meaning than being abandoned. I just didn't know what direction. And this resonates very, very deeply. Oh, man. New moon stuff, too. We saw, let me just look back at what we even said. That was, so beginnings, resets, potential, introspection, the quiet and uncertain. More, I'm picking up more on the quiet part. The quiet part that was, I even put it in parentheses. I didn't think it was that big of a deal at first, though later we kind of picked up on it. But the quietness of the necklace being grabbed and yanked, but not getting broken. And I say that's quiet in comparison to being punched in the face. That was a more subtle thing, which is typical for a new moon dream. Now, that plays into the subtlety with, and we talked about emotional resonance. Look at it now. Emotional for sure. I know I'm not crying, but if I was a crier, I'd be crying. And I don't say if I was a crier. I'm just saying I'm not one that cries. Not saying it's wrong to cry. Sometimes I wish I could cry more. It just doesn't happen. Anyway, I say this. New moon dreams are rarely dramatic. This one was pretty dramatic though, and I say that because of the whole action sequence that transpired. I'm a little bit different. My dreams are, it really doesn't matter what moon phase My dreams are always pretty vivid. And my new moon dreams tend to be pretty dramatic as well. Now, in comparison to a full moon, it's amplified times 10, dials cranked to 11. But even scaled down, for me, it's still can be pretty wild and pretty dramatic. I don't know if that's the case for everybody, but if you'd like to explore that, let me know. I'd love to do that. I was thinking too, I think the best way for you to reach out to me would be via email. If you want to leave a comment or if you happen to be in one of these live streams and put it in the chat, I think there's limits to how many characters you can enter, whereas in an email, I don't, there's definitely enough room for you to put down a whole dream. And this dream um, wasn't that long. I don't know if I could, I doubt I could do word count, but this I think can fit in an email. I don't know about the comment section, probably not the chat, but I think you could fit something of this size into an email. I think. If you have to send it as two, so be it. Anyway, it's interesting because I have a feeling that your dreams, well, your symbols may not resonate the same way with me as they would with you. But that still gets us closer to the point. If something's not resonating, then we know it's not that, and we'll work with that. And the goal is not for anybody to rely on me or even ChatGPT for dream analysis. That's not the goal. I don't want you to have to rely on me. I just want to show you a framework, a train of thought, things to look out for, so that when you do this on your own, it's not as intimidating. I just want to show you that it's very doable. And you have tools. You have me as a tool if you need it for support. I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm using AI to cross-reference. But hey, even before that, we did pretty good. I just struggled with some of the language. Like intuitively, internally, I kind of knew what the message was and what it felt like. But the actual logical language to support that, I was kind of lacking. So I used a tool to help. And it just so happened that this tool also exposed even more layers to some other symbols that I was more or less overlooking, or at least had an idea, but again, didn't really have the language for. So, at the end of the day, these are just interpretations, not exactly truths. However, when something resonates this deeply, I see this as a truth for myself. And I think you're going to find the same to be the truth for you. My interpretations are not going to be the truth. Only you are going to know what that is. Only you are going to know what the truth is because I'm not the thing that's going to be resonating. You are. Okay? So that's the new moon. Man, this was a lot of fun to do. Next, we're going to tackle the next phase, which is the waxing phase. We'll get into that. I have lots of dreams. I had to do some digging for this new moon dream because new moon's only like 1, 2 days, but waxing and waning is a string of days to choose from. So this was harder to find, but thankfully I did find it. It's to have some context, and that's what we'll tackle next. Then we'll do the full moon and the waning cycle. Okay? Thank you so much for checking this out. I hope this helps you on your path, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.